All right, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and thank you for tuning in to what I'm guessing is going to be an impactful video for Lions fans everywhere. You know, we've all been speculating whether or not Brad Holmes was just playing chess with people, if he was setting people up, whatever it may be. But like we've talked about for a while, I think Brad Holmes is a pretty savvy guy. You're all tuning in. I got to do this stuff. So, hey, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Also, if you would, hit that like button. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. You want to know about the trade news, I had to wait to specifically 12:30. At 11:35 a.m. today, there were members of the Washington media that were made privy to a potential trade between the Detroit Lions and the Commanders. I'm going to give you a direct quote, but first you're going to want to know who the players are. It's not finalized yet, so I want to make sure you guys are aware of this because I know some of you guys are going to blow me up in the comment section. This is not a done deal, but it is pretty dang close. You know, the fact that they brought media members in to talk privately, and then that meeting ended at 11:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to give you a couple details. The Detroit Lions originally inquired about Kendall Fuller and, boy, I always kill the other guy's name, Montez Sweat. As negotiations changed, though, Sunday night, early Monday morning, when apparently the Washington Commanders and former Detroit Lions general manager contacted the Lions about a potential trade change to that. I'm going to give you a direct quote in regards from my friend in the media. They have talked also about Sweat and Fuller for a 3rd and 6th round pick. Quote, Allen has privately spoken with the Commanders general manager about his desire to no longer remain with the franchise. Allen and Washington Brad had a direct private meeting Monday late afternoon, whereas the Commanders general manager attempted to talk Allen into remaining with the franchise. Later Monday evening, Allen reached back out to the general manager and informed informed of his desire to end his time with the Commanders. So, long story short, without boring you guys to death, the Lions are trying to get this deal worked out. What it sounds like it's going to come down to is, like any trade, what somebody's willing to give. The Lions are on the board for a 3rd or 4th and then 6th and 7th round pick for the Fuller Allen deal. If they do proceed with Sweat and Fuller, it would be just a flat out 3rd and 7th round pick. So kind of splitting hairs on the details. I got to imagine the Lions are going to do everything they can to try to get Washington in a spot where really they've got no other choices. I think we all get Allen is a game changer, along with Houston coming back and Aiden Hutchinson, that front line. You're going to generate some pressure along with Aleem McNeil getting after the quarterback. That would be a heck of a deal. I think we all agree it would, for the foreseeable future, the Detroit Lions defense would probably be mentioned in the same breath as some of the most dominant ones in the league. I mean, the amount of pressure that front four could do without blitzing, that's really saying something. I think the other part we all get with this is that the Lions have probably figured out by now, and this may be the first real sign that Will Harris is identified finally by Lions coaching staff as somebody they don't want on the field starting the majority of the time. Fuller, in case you don't know, excuse me, he's been around for a while. He's got great man-to-man coverage skills, which I think we all know Aaron Glenn prefers. He's got wheels. He's got size. He fits the mold for what the Lions like to do. Now you think about a secondary with him, Branch, Sutton. That's a pretty legit group. And then you add in, obviously, Kirby, Tracy Walker, whoever. But think about that Lions D. This would be the first tell if this goes down that the Detroit Lions are in win it now mode. Let me see if there's any notes. Nothing else really close. I do see, Dave, you asked him about Chase Young. The Lions specifically turned down, from what I'm told, the Lions specifically turned down any kind of requests or negotiations, I should say, about Chase Young. They're not interested. For whatever reason, I'm not here to debate that whatsoever. I'm here to just report what's being told to me. Here's the facts in case you're just joining. Allen went in. I think if you guys probably know, he's been pretty vocal about this team's disappointing results throughout the year. Then obviously Sunday night when they lost, he was very vocal about it to media members, things of that sort. So I'm going to say this. I personally would have thought that they would go after Sweat and Fuller, but I think it could be an indication that either the Lions coaching staff would prefer Allen and Fuller because either they really think Houston's ready to go and he's going to be a monster, or Jack Campbell's going to take that other spot. They must have some idea if they're not taking Sweat, who can get to the quarterback. I mean, he's a monster out there. There'd have to be a reason why the coaching staff would prefer Allen and Fuller. And not trying to say that Allen isn't good. He's great. He's one of the better interior linemen in the NFL. He is getting up there a little bit in age. He's 28-ish, but then again, so is Sweat. So I don't know what's going to happen. I got the news. Like I said, I reported to you guys as quickly as I could. I did have to wait for the media rules to be applicable. So, I'm going to say this. William Fuller, raise your hand in the comment section if you think William Fuller wouldn't be an upgrade over Will Harris. Nothing against him, but when that dude's on the field, I get he works hard. He's switched Army knife. He can play different spots, whatever. But think of the last time he started where a team didn't specifically target him, 5 to 10 times early in a game, and they're getting great win rates on that. Allen, I'd say this. I think the Lions are very happy with Jones and some of the other guys we have on the interior, but I think they're also aware. Look at what Minnesota just did yesterday. They got a key win. Yes, we're a couple games up on them, but towards the end of the season, we're going to have 2 of our last 3 games against the Vikings, and that very well may determine either who wins the division or seeding in the playoffs. You guys, if you've watched this channel for a while, you've heard me talk. You only have certain windows of time. At some point, you've got to go all in and say, hey, this is our 1 to 2, maybe on the outside 3 years to really make a legitimate push. The Lions schedule, while I think we can all look at it and say it's favorable, there's no guarantees on there. There's no guarantees that, Chicago doesn't win a game against us or Minnesota doesn't win a game or whoever else. So if I'm Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, I'm going to guess based on today's events, they've had a long sit down, and probably the Baltimore game didn't help things, and said, what do we need to do to really be in that next tier, which is the top tier of the league? I think we're all agreeing they're above middle of the pack. They're pretty good. But tell me if you guys think who are the dominant players, the playmakers on defense, on offense. And I think that's what it comes down to. I get there's going to be some cap concerns with all this, but you know what? If you're a good general manager, you find a way to manipulate that cap to your advantage to make things work. You probably even get a couple of guys to try to, augment their salaries a little bit. I'm going to assume if this goes down, they probably also had conversations with Jared Goff leading into this, knowing if we're signing you, we've got to help you help us. So Jerry Maguire take there. But again, the quote, if you're just joining us, Lions originally called to go after Sweat and Fuller because of some changes in the Washington locker room. The Washington general manager called back, talked to them apparently yesterday about a potential trade with that would augment things for Fuller and Allen. Here's the quote again. Allen has privately spoken to the Washington general manager about the desire to no longer remain with the franchise. Allen and Washington brass had a direct private meeting Monday, late afternoon, whereas the Commanders general manager attempted to talk to Allen. Later Monday evening, Allen reached back out to the Commanders GM and informed them again his desire to end his time with the Commanders. There's going to be other teams. If this is all on, there will be other teams trying to go for this guy. You get it. I get it. We all get it. But I'm going to say this. I think this would take, if this goes down, especially at the compensation that they're talking about, this would change the Detroit Lions defense and make it one of the elite ones. That secondary would be legit. The linebackers, I think we could all say, they may not be elite, but they're not far off. And that front line with Hutchinson, Allen, McNeil, I'm going to guess Campbell or Houston on the other side coming after people. Maybe Pascal, I don't know, but you get the idea. This would take this franchise to a whole different level, especially this year and next year. Beyond that, I mean, we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm all for it, man. I'm okay with it. I've told you guys before, I'd be all in on this season and next season because to me, that's your real window of opportunity to strike in the NFC. Beyond that, I don't know. My crystal ball is still in the shop. I can't tell you what's going to happen 3 years from now. All right. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. I'm trying to get to 3,800 by kickoff for Monday against Las Vegas. If you guys have any questions, let me jump into the comment section here, see what you guys got. I know I've missed a ton of you guys, but I've been trying to reiterate all this stuff. So if you don't get your question asked, go ahead and throw it out there. Don Burr, hey, good day, Dion. Like that. Xander, yeah, we need this. I'm down with that. Scott, what do you got? I'd be okay with either option. Holy smokes. Yeah, it would be a clear sign also Washington's in the point where they either think they have better younger players or they just know they need to rebuild. They've stayed kind of around the 500 level long enough now. They know they're not going forward. They've got to try to do something to change this. Micro Mike took Lions 5 years to figure out Will Harris. Yeah, isn't great. Yeah, I think that's probably what. And plus, like I said, man, you've seen several straight games now. He's been forced into service, but I also get every team is going after this guy religiously, like he owes them money. Don Burr. So basically, what's more likely, Allen or Sweat Fuller from your perspective, Coach? Me, I would say Allen and Fuller because I like Sweat. I don't think he's a whole lot different than Houston. He's different than Campbell at this point in his career. But, I guess what I would say to you, Don, is do you need two Houstons out there on the field? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sweat is that much better than him. I just don't think he is. I will say this, he's probably better against the run. That I will give you. But as far as getting to the quarterback, I don't think there's a huge difference. So if it's me, I'm going Allen and Fuller. Fuller helps that secondary be really legit. Allen gets in there, and man, him, McNeil, and plus some of the other guys you got, Bugs and stuff. All of a sudden, you got tremendous depth, but you can generate a ton of pressure after quarterbacks with just that front four. All right, Lion King, what do you got? We need to use our assets to improve this team. This thing is building picks are for build. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm all for it, man. Don, thank God Chase can stay put. Always hurt. And that could have been maybe one of the reasons why the Lions vehemently said, no, we're not interested in Chase Young. You look at his stats, too, over the years. I get he's been hurt, but outside of his rookie year, does he really look that impressive? That's, I guess, what I would say. Bobby, Lions are all done. Will not win the division. Start building for the next year, guys. Well, you might be right, Bobby. I hope you're wrong just because I want us to go forward and win. All right, Scott. If they turn down Chase and pursuing Allen Sweat, that's going to be a grit culture thing. I think there's a lot of potential truth to that thing, which is awesome, as Dan/Brad have done a stellar job building it. Yeah, I don't think anybody can complain about the job they're doing. Maybe I'm wrong. Sweat has 5.5 sacks already this year. Yeah, and I get that. I just think if Houston's really going to be healthy after the bye, do they basically have the same player twice? I mean, that's the thing I can't answer. I haven't watched enough film on him to really kind of break him down for you guys. I'm just telling you real quick off the top of my head. All right. I'll let you guys debate that. All right. Super, what do you got? What up, everybody? Hey, welcome to the channel. I don't know if I've seen your name before, so hey, thanks for diving in. 9 Drinks, always good to see you out there. You are often out there. Raise your hand. DT is our need to use the gap. Yeah. Don, Will Harris. Yeah, I think we all agreed Harris needs an upgrade. Super Max Crosby would the only guy I would want. He's a Dan Campbell guy and a dog. Yeah. If they pull something off to go get him, I'm not complaining. I doubt if anybody else would either. Scott, thank you. Why not all three? I mean, maybe they can get all three. That's a good one, Paul. I hadn't considered that. Jonathan Allen and Jonathan Allen and Fuller would put us in that next tier. And that's what I think the Lions are starting to look. I think the offense is fine as long as the running game, stands up. One thing I'll say, watching the Baltimore game a second time, they disrespected our run. They didn't care about it at all. If you watch their defensive linemen, they are disregarding any kind of gap integrity control on their way to the quarterback. They were telling the Lions from the first play of the game, we're not worried about your running game hurting us. That's something I'm an idiot. I can see that. if the Lions coaching staff sees that, they probably got to do something to adjust that, because other teams are going to copy it unless Montgomery comes in or unless Gibbs starts really beating them up. The Lions are going to have to change that, but their offense should be fine, I think, overall. I mean, Baltimore's defense is pretty legit, but to your point, Don, I agree that this would put our defense in a whole nother level. Michael, waiting for the link, okay? I sent it to you in, what do you call it? Twitter, whatever you call it now. Mike Kimber, yep. All right. Just saw the Commanders want any info what they want. Yeah, I kind of went over it a little bit. Depends on which trade proposal they go to, but it sounds like basically it's going to be around the third round to fourth round range with an additional pick in later rounds like 6th, 7th. So just real quick summary there for you. Sorry, Justin, I didn't have that up there earlier. All right. Okay, what? Line drinks. All right. Going through these as quick as I can here. What's your most likely guess of what happens? Alan Fuller, if I'm guessing. Unless they think Houston just isn't going to be back anytime soon, or that Campbell can't take that outside rusher spot, that I guess would be it. Don't sweat. See what you did there, Lion King. Any idea what the contracts are for Fuller and Allen currently? I could probably tell you Fuller's, but man, I don't know. Excuse me, Allen's, but I don't know Fuller's offhand. Allen, this year he's due, I want to say $14 million with $6 million signing bonus. Next year is also 14 with 6, and then 25, 15.5. So don't quote me on that. I didn't really bother looking it up. I wasn't worried about that part. The question, will Harris a foundational piece for this team? I'm thinking not. So John Kapler, the bad guy, basically Lions are trying to trade for a couple people from Washington and increase their D. Dollar store. Yeah, well, I'll leave that to you, man. Don't sweat the. Yeah, okay, boy. I've opened up a Pandora's box here. Would be amazing if it happens. Let's hope it does, Mike. 9 drinks. Looks like Will Harris gets stuck in a foundation. Yeah, a lot of times he does run like he's got quicksand. 9 drinks. Yeah, still amazing how same old Lions fans after a loss panic. It is what it is, man. Certain. I had a scenario that I thought they would go after him, but at the same time, this doesn't at least sound like it's going to happen. And then aiding to the fact that, Denver won last week, hope kills a lot of things. If they would have lost that game, they'd probably been more apt to be sellers heading into the 31st trade deadline. We'll trade for dollar. Okay, I get that, but it is what it is. No, you did not send the link. Mike, shows on my Twitter that it's it was in there, but maybe it didn't go. All right, my bad. Sorry about that, man. I thought I put it in there. Chris, all right, or maybe I don't know. I'll check the links later. I heard some talk about Marquise Brown. Thoughts? Who are you going to play him over? I guess that would be the problem. Unless you're just adding him for depth. So we'll see, Chris. Just thanks for all the info. Hey, more than glad to do it. Robert, the Ravens game cost us money. Well, it may cost us picks as we look to increase. So we'll see. Jordy, opposing offenses will be full of sweat looking at our defense. Full of sweat. Yes, that. Mike, your show. Okay. All right. What do we got? Cut. Romo save a lot of money. Yeah, and I think in the offseason, you'll probably see a couple players get unloaded. Tracy Walker could be one of them as well. But to your point, Jeffrey, I think, there's definitely spots where you can trim some costs. Because if you look at the top 10 paid players on the Lions, I think you can see, I don't know off the top of my head, I want to say it's 6 or 7 of them are all defensive players. A lot of them aren't really producing. So, yeah. Jordy, we're going on all in to win this year. I'd say this would be a clear sign this year and next year they're in it to win it. And again, maybe 3 years, but it's just really hard in the NFL to predict what's going to happen 2-3 years from now. I think 2 years you can do. 3 years, man, people change so much from a physical standpoint from the beating of this game. We'll see. But I would say if I'm Brad Holmes and I can only tell you what I would do as a general manager, I'd be all in. I might not be willing to give up that first unless it's somebody who is younger on a rookie deal, like a Surtain. But other picks, I'd be trying to pick up some not quite 30-year-old players that are still near their peak, but, they're going to have their downside happening probably by year 2 or 3 of the deal. But All right. Michael, Broncos had alluded to Surtain is not available. I think Brad makes 2 to 3 reasonable moves. Could see corner depth. I agree with you. Possibly DE, DT, DE, and a big running back for depth. Yep, I would agree with all of that. I think you're spot on there, Michael. I think at this point, there's a couple of spots we'd really like to shore up and then probably try to add a few more pieces just for depth purposes, like you're stating. Don, I don't know if you're interested, Coach, but which option would you pick? Sweater Allen? Allen all the way. And again, just because I'm convinced on Houston, I'm also convinced that you've got enough other people like Okwara, Campbell, just other people that can get in there and do some stuff on that outside. I think Allen is the more noticeable, increase to what you currently have. Fuller's definitely an increase at the cornerback depth spot, because if something happens for Sutton or Jerry Jacobs long term, that secondary is going to get chewed up if Will Fuller's got to be out there all day. So it is what it is. All right. Would you trade Will Harris for the Hamburglar? I would. I do love me some hamburgers. Justin, any potential talks with the Titans since they have traded All-Pro Byard? Nothing I've heard. I get a lot of people are speculating about Derrick Henry. I just haven't heard anything. So I'd be lying to you guys if I said I did hear something. Could at least get a combo meal for Will. I think you're pushing there, 9 drinks. I think you're pushing. Daniel Hunter may have been an option until they won last night. I agree, Scott. Yeah, that changed things. And now the Vikings have hope, so they're not sellers, just like Denver. So I think that's where you're at with things. Okay, Lions King, Skol beating San Francisco is not a good sign. Yeah, well, moving on from it. I'm sure we can delve in for a 6th or 7th. Yeah, could get him for a 6th or 7th. That's possible. And I do think they need to figure out something for having a 3 running back system, as much as Gibbs and Montgomery haven't held up well. Scott, Vikings will regret that. Yep, could be. Absolutely would take that trade for the Hamburglar. I got you, Dale. Williamson, is Brian Burnsville? I think he is. I just think it comes down to cost. What's your return on investment? What are you willing to give up to get him? And then you're going to have to sign him. And you're probably not giving up much for somebody that you don't have a structured deal in place. So we'll see. Michael, I would not trade Will Harris for the Hamburger. Okay, well, you guys really stuck on this Hamburger and Will Harris. And Micro Mike, I am looking at StreamYard, and at least on mine, it shows that the link's there. It says seen by one person. So I don't know, but I don't know. I guess I didn't look into it more, but I just assumed since it was there on my screen, it's on yours. Okay. Yep, I'll be right there in just a minute. I'll log off, get some water real quick for my throat, and then I'll be on. All right, what do you got? No big trades. Better draft. Get better next draft. Yep, I get that. I get that line of thinking. Scale of 1 to 10, Coach. What's your feelings on this one will happen? I would say based on the Buddy's thoughts, I would say it's probably about a good 7 to 8. They definitely had talks, and the fact that it got into some of the financial parts, you're not talking about that stuff unless you're really ready to go after it. So, I think this would be the biggest trade the Lions would have made since, Pat Swelling, I guess. I don't know. It'd be up there. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I think it would be up there as impactful for the potential of the franchise. Gary, you're on too early for me. I'm retired. Sorry about that, man. But I enjoy the reruns. Holmes has to do something unless they think they can get better. Next year is the year. Yeah. And I would say this, go for it this year, next year. You can guarantee this current version of the Lions from a roster standpoint really won't change much this year, next year. You get to year 3, yes, there are going to be some changes. I'm all in it. The team's never been to the Super Bowl. They've been, I get to the NFL championships, but you've got a real window of opportunity here. You shore up that D, couple of schematic little things here, there to adjust the new talent. I think you're one of the more dominant teams in the NFL at that point, and see what happens. All right. We'll probably have to close up shop here in a little bit to get ready for Micro Mike's show. Perhaps you're giving up on depth in the playoffs. No, I would say adding more pieces to have more depth. I don't think the Lions will get rid of anybody unless they're going to cut somebody or move them down to the practice squad. But that interior line, or we'll just say the line in general, this trade goes down, even if it's for Sweat and or Allen, they're going to have a lot of parts to be able to throw at teams. They just got to get a little bit more production, because I do think some of the lack of pressure in certain games, like last weekend, it's not the players, it's the scheme they're being asked to run. I get Dan Campbell's a coach. He's going to defend his buddies and Aaron Glenn and say, hey, the schemes were sound. It was the execution. To me, I would disagree with that and just say that you watch the players, they're purposefully not trying to get to the quarterback. They're trying to close the cone around them. And yeah, I got my issues with that. But Michael, I do think this would give us real good depth, because now Jerry Jacobs is your third. And if CJ comes back, man, you've got depth galore in that secondary, linebacker, defensive line. There might be a couple spots like running back on offense. But all right, I probably bored you guys long enough. Again, I'm going to swing on over to Micro Mike's. I think his starts in 4 minutes. I got to get some water real quick to clear my throat. And if you guys want, head on over there. If I do get some other news, I'll get it over to you guys. If you didn't catch all the stuff, just go ahead and rewind it when this thing, goes back up on YouTube. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Try to make the push to get to 3,800 by Monday Night Football's kickoff. So, all right, I'll wrap it up. See you all next time on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.